Welcome to All Clear, the podcast that takes you beyond the rails. Brought to you by the team at Australian Jumping, this podcast dives into the stories, the people, and the horses shaping our sport. Whether you're a seasoned competitor or simply love the thrill of the clear round, All Clear delivers the conversations that matter. Hit subscribe and join us for a fresh perspective on the sport you love. I'm very pleased to welcome Hilary Scott onto the show today. Although Hilary is based in the Netherlands, today she's speaking with us from Calgary in Canada. Welcome, Hilary.
Hi, Jo. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hilary, you've been part of the Australian jumping scene for many years. And then looking back, what have been some of the major turning points that have shaped your path?
Oh, wow. I think probably the first escapade I did over to Europe in 2008, a couple of years after finishing school. I came over be alongside Chris and Helen Chug when they came with Vivant to campaign for Hong Kong Olympics. And that was a real eye-opener and just an experience we were based in Germany at Bockmann Stable. I was lucky enough to bring a horse at the same time. So I got to travel to shows with them and see what the whole process looked like, even for vying for team positions, how team dynamics sort of worked, and then also just the behind-the-scenes management of the horses day to day at that level and what was needed at that level. So that was sort of the first eye-opener and the first real experience into coming abroad. And then I would say the other turning point was probably a few years after I moved over to Europe. We moved over in 2013, and I would say maybe in about 2016, there was possibility that I could have thought about maybe going home, but yeah, I didn't, and yeah, I'm really glad that I've stuck with it.
What made you think that going home was looking promising a little bit at that time? Was there anything in particular?
I think, it was a period where I was still sort of trying to find exactly where I would like to settle and, which training sort of route I would like to go. Still really finding your feet with, the right suppliers, the right, you really have to have a good system around you and a good support network. And I think I was still trying to find that, and I just wasn't sure if I was going to find that. And then, yeah, I sort of did. So it all worked out, but it takes a little bit to find all of those things that work for you when you're in a whole new place, and especially with, new language barrier, totally different country, not everything that you've grown up with. Yeah.
Oak Sport Horses is your family business, and the European arm that you have now created. Can you talk us through how that came about? Did that sort of lead from what you've just spoken about just sort of finding where you wanted to be based and then taking it from there?
Yeah, definitely. In the beginning, it sort of started as a move for me personally to take the next steps for my own career. And then obviously Mum's vision was always to have our horses competing internationally that we had bred. The next logical step was to start bringing homebred horses that were at a level where we could potentially sell into the market or have our own under potentially me or other people that would then be on the international stage and being seen at international competitions.
So can you talk us through a little bit about the business that you have there in the Netherlands?
Yeah, so we've bred a couple in the Netherlands as well, but mostly it's still the horses from Australia. And then the horses that we feel have potential enough, we bring to Europe to compete and sell. We've sold quite a few now into the US also. So we're trying to filter into all of the markets worldwide, whether it's the Americas, Europe, and Australia. And so by being able to compete internationally in those different continents has helped with exposing the brand, I guess, and helping make those connections and build the networks between those countries to place horses. So we're doing that. We're selling training and then doing some training as well of students. But mostly it's around the sport and building the name and selling our horses to international buyers.
Are the Americas a big market? I've heard that they get a lot of their horses from Europe and they don't do a lot of producing of young horses in America. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Nearly all the horses that are in the US are bred in Europe and produced there. The American market is expensive to show, so to produce young horses, it's not so viable as it is in Europe. So yeah, they buy most of their horses that are already, ready to compete at a level where most of the people there would like them to be. And so most of them come from Europe.
And do you think the American market is something that breeders in Australia can really tap into as well, more so than the European market?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a market anywhere internationally for horses, but for the American market, they want horses that are going. They want horses that are a bit more finished, competitive, and straightforward. So definitely horses in Australia can do that job. They have to be sound. They have to have a good vet check, well produced. And so definitely that is an option for horses from Australia. We have a lot of people in Australia who do a really good job producing them up to, the metre 45, metre 50. And then they can go on to do that easily. But in saying that, there's also a good market in Europe. I mean, you've got access from Europe to the Middle East, to Ireland, to England. Once you're in the Northern Hemisphere, horses actually move around quite regularly.
And you mentioned your mum, Alice Cameron, and she's obviously a very important part of your life and your career. Can you talk us through a little bit what her support of you has meant over the years?
No, absolutely. I'm just so lucky that she is so passionate about the sport as well, and loves to see her horses go on to do great things, and has had the tenacity and the grit to stick with it for so long. She started breeding 20 years ago now, and yeah, it is a long haul. It's not something that you can go into with a short sight. And yeah, she's really put so much effort, money, of course, into making sure that there's been good quality horses for Australians, and definitely for myself, I've been extremely lucky that she's kept a horse like Milky that has certainly made my career. And so, of course, her support means everything, but I'm just so lucky that we have such an incredible relationship as well, and share the passion together. That's the thing I'm mostly grateful for, that we really enjoy sharing, whether it's, hearing about a horse that she sold and jumping 90 centimetres with, a 50-year-old person in Australia. She gets as much joy hearing about that as she does hearing about, a horse that's jumping 5-star Grand Prix and doing really well. So she's just so passionate about it. And yeah, I'm grateful that she's shown me that way of enjoying the sport and in the horses. And I think that's so important. And for me, that's the crux of why we do this. So yeah.
Yeah. I love seeing the photos of her at competitions, or when I've been to her championships, seeing you guys together there and seeing her cheering you on. It's lovely to see that. So being based in Europe, what are some of the advantages, particularly when it comes to producing the top level horses?
I think the biggest difference and advantage is that the consistency of competitions and training facilities, equipment, course building, and facilities. The horses can go, nearly every day of the week if you want to. I think Monday is basically the only day there's not a training competition or training show on locally from us. Within 45 minutes of our place, we have 5 different facilities that also host international competitions. So you can really pick and choose when you want to focus on having a 3-month concentrated work space of time, and then when you want to give them a break. Whereas in Australia, we don't have the same consistency of shows regularly for horses to go to, especially young horses, where you can pick and choose at any time of the year to do that. So I think for assessment and for selling, and also, as we spoke earlier, you have access to a greater market. So if you want to assess a horse, produce a horse and sell it, that whole process can happen much more quickly because you have so much more that you can get done in a shorter period of time.
And you mentioned the course designers. Is it just the, I guess, diversity and how many different types of courses that you get exposed to, or is there something in particular that you feel that is done differently in Europe with regards to course design than maybe is done in Australia?
No, I think we have great course designers in Australia. We're very lucky, and I've seen a lot that are, broadening their horizons. They're traveling a lot to get experience and exposure from a lot of international course designers as well. It's just that even at the most local level, you can still have an international course designer building the courses. So already your young horses are exposed to decent and very good course designing, which is imperative for their progress and their future, because you want them to learn in a good way early on. And so it's just that you have more, like you said, more exposure and more opportunity to have access to that more regularly.
Yeah, yeah. And so you've spent a fair bit of time now competing both in the US, as you mentioned, and in Europe. So how would you compare the two scenes, the atmosphere, the sport, the way shows are run?
Well, here at Spruce Meadows, it's there's nothing like it. I mean, the places you can compare it to mostly in Europe would be Aachen and Hickstead. Hickstead, actually, where the vision for Spruce Meadows was born. It's very much the same. This very community, family-driven property and development, and you really feel that when you come to these places. But in terms of the atmosphere, I feel like in the US, it's always very fun. The spectators are very vibrant. They're really enthusiastic. In comparison to Europe, the spectators are very knowledgeable. They know a lot about horses. So, for example, in Aachen or Germany, all the spectators, they understand what's going on. So they know exactly the moments to cheer. They know exactly the moments to, and they know the riders. So, look, I think everywhere has its own special feeling. The atmosphere, I would say, is more spectator-based in the US and Canada. But in Europe, it's a lot more professional. There are a lot more people associated with the actual competitors and riders, especially more on the lower international level shows. But then, of course, once you get to the higher level international shows, then you get a lot more spectators. But I don't know. I can't really compare them. They're all different. They all have something special about them. Yeah, I'm very grateful to have had an opportunity to show in a few of the places, and yeah, they all have something special to offer.
And talking about spectators, as a rider, how does that feel when you are riding in front of so many people, compared to, I guess, what we're used to in Australia, where we do struggle to get the general public into our events? What's it like for you as you pull into that arena to the crowd?
Yeah, I don't know though, Joe. Like it's been so long since I've competed, say, in Australia, where you also have, like, I'll say, a home crowd. So you also get that real motivation and really supporting you when you're at home, because people want you to do well because it's your home. And obviously I haven't had a home crowd for a long time, so I think that would be amazing to say compete in Australia at a bigger event where there was people, general spectators, all supporting Australian riders. I think that, like, for example, like the Brisbane Olympics is going to be amazing because, you get the opportunity to compete all around the world, in Germany and Netherlands, the US, where there are home riders. And the way the crowd get behind those home riders is just, yeah, there must be no other feeling like it. And I can just imagine competing, say, at Brisbane or when the Sydney Olympics were on, to compete on your home grounds at a really big international event will be and would be absolutely, yeah, incredible. But no, you're right. In general, to compete in these big events where there are a lot of spectators, and especially if you have a good round, or it's very special, and you can feel how passionate they all are and how much they want they want to see you, whichever horse and rider combination it is, they want to see you do well. So it is a special feeling when it all comes together. I mean, anyone who rides a horse, you have that feeling, and then to hear the crowd also feel it is, yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. And are there any major challenges for an Australian rider that's navigating North America or the European circuits?
Oh, I think there's quite a lot, especially Europe, as you just mentioned. North America is probably a little bit easier, purely because of the language barrier. However, the US is also a bit more difficult with visa requirements. Europe is, yeah, of course, difficult with the language barrier and the difference in cultures. But I think generally, as Australians, we're pretty adaptable and we're pretty resilient. So, and those are two major traits that you need to have if you're preparing to travel abroad and want to stay for a period to experience and learn from the sport. There's always going to be challenges no matter where you go. Even if you go to New Zealand, there's going to be, you're leaving your home. So, of course, there's challenges. You're not with your normal support system, your family, your friends, what you know and have been brought up with. So, of course, there's just those challenges personally for people to overcome. But then there's also, depending if you're going to take horses or whether you're going to work, then there's the challenge of logistics, transport, all of those things. So, it is a big step, but it's certainly not, I wouldn't say it's not undoable.
Yeah. So around this time last year, you were preparing for the Paris Olympics. What do you remember most about that build-up period?
Oh, not much, to be honest. No, it was very surreal. The whole experience was actually being at the Olympics was quite surreal because there's just so much going on in so many different aspects of the sport itself. You're at a horse show, but it's not really a horse show. You're in a totally strange location. There's access to all the other sports. There are so many factors that are so different. It was an amazing experience, an incredible experience, and one I'll obviously cherish forever. But the lead up, I don't know. I won't say it was a bit of a blur because I was extremely sort of organized going into it. But it all just happens so quickly. You're preparing out and you're thinking about this thing that's happening in 4 months' time, and then all of a sudden it's already happened. So it goes very quickly, and probably a bit like what people say about a wedding. You actually need to stop and really appreciate it at the time because it goes so quickly and it all happens very fast.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were riding into that arena at Versailles on the first day for the first competition, how did that feel? Could you take it in, or were you just so focused on their job at hand?
Yeah, I think actually, to be honest, on the first day, I didn't take it in enough. I think I was too focused on, trying to do the best job I could, that I think I almost over focused on that too much and lost the appreciation in that moment for where we were, what we were doing. And I think in that moment it can also then affect your performance because you're putting almost too much pressure on yourself to just focus on only this. And so then after day one, I sort of took a bit of a step back and I was like, you know what, this is the Olympics. I just need to, yes, we need to be there to do our job and we need to do well. But I think there's a fine line between overdoing that focus and it being detrimental. And for me, I needed to sort of just take a step out and enjoy the fact that I was at the Olympics and go and experience things like the village and all the other members of the Australian team outside of equestrian, and realize that you were part of something bigger than just equestrian sport in that moment. So I think then coming into the individual competition, I was just in a much different headspace, much more appreciation. I sort of made sure when I trotted into the arena, I looked around and took in everything around us and looked up at Versailles and thought, wow, this is something that I'm never going to get this experience ever again. So And then just trusted and enjoyed my horse, and it was much better and different different outcome. And I just wish I did that on day one.
Now you've had time to reflect on the whole Olympic experience. What has that meant to you personally?
Of course, it's something that I always dreamt of when I was a child. And, I think when I was 10 years old, I told myself I wanted to compete at the Olympics. And so to have reached that goal, yeah, of course, it meant the absolute world. But I think also reaching that, you don't sort of get to a point and then think, oh, okay, good, I've done that now, tick that off and done. For me, it was, wow, okay, no, I want to do that better now. I want to now push to the next thing. And so, yes, of course, it was an incredible experience, but it just made me more hungry to want to just be better. I don't know at the time that I really appreciated how far we'd come. But looking back, like you said, upon reflection, and especially to do it with a horse who's meant so much to me, of course, it means really a whole lot. So it's something that you could never replace, that feeling.
Let's just chat about Milky for a while. For people who don't know your history and the history of that mare, tell us a little bit about.
She's 17 and a half now. Mum bred her. She was from the second year that mum bred. She's a grey mare by Clearway out of a Jalisco B Grand Veneur mare, who mum purchased as a brood mare when she was acquiring her first sort of brood mare herd. So the mother of Milky was always the brood mare, even in Europe. And Milky was her second foal that we bred. Constellation was the first. Constellation and Cosmo the year before Milky. And then Milky was in 2007. And yeah, we bred her as soon as she was born and before she was even weaned. I said to Mum, "There's something about her. She's going to be really special." She would just off she'd go into the paddock in her own direction, away from everyone else, away from her mum. She'd just with the head up, ears pricked, just off she'd go and do her own thing. And just she had so much spirit and independence and confidence, and I just had this feeling that there's nothing that she doesn't think she's capable of. And then when we free jumped her, she showed exactly that. And I pleaded with Mum that we could keep her, and I broke her in with the help of like everyone that we had around at the time, and I took her to her first competitions, and then she spent a year with Amanda Madigan and Helen Chug when I first moved over to Europe, and then she came and met up with me when she was 6.5. Yeah. And so then from then on, she's been with me. So 11 years in Europe together, and then all her life before that. So she really is, I would say, the other half of me, and means a lot to me. And we have a really special relationship. And because we've traveled, it's because of her that I've had so many amazing opportunities, and she's taken me to places that I only ever dreamt of. So I really owe Milky everything.
And it must have been particularly special that your Olympics, and I'll say your first Olympics, was with Milky. That must have just meant so much to you, given your history together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's a dream, isn't it? And you never know if a dream's going to come true, but you just keep ticking away every day and hope that it all comes together. And we all know it's a long road, and so many things have to align for something like that to happen. So yeah, for it to have worked out with Milky, I think looking back, sometimes that's why I'm sort of regrettable about that I didn't appreciate more sort of in the moment, especially on like say the first day or the whole lead up, because I was so focused on just wanting to do it right. That's why sometimes when I look back on that, I just think, for her, that I should have just more appreciated, the whole thing a bit more. But yeah, I'm incredibly lucky, and she's a very special horse.
Have there been any particular challenges for you along the way that sort of tried to derail you?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is to find your team and your people, and to not feel like you're doing it alone. And I think that's always a hard thing for Australians when they leave home, because, you have to find that overseas and find that support system and find that sense of team. And that's a constant challenge, because you want to make sure that you've got the right people around you. And so I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've faced over the years. But I think learning to overcome that, obviously, then is, it helps you to keep going forward. That, okay, it helps to just constantly push you in the right direction for, every mistake that's made or every decision that's made that works out or doesn't work out. It keeps pushing you in the next right direction. So yes, there's constant challenges with that, and, running a business and, financially, staffing, horses, keeping numbers up, all of those. And that's the other thing, trying to keep horsepower. That's a big challenge for anyone that's wanting to go into the sport. But no, the financial pressures, the constant wanting to be at that level, but finding the right balance between supporting that, it's a constant challenge.
And what's been front of mind for you lately, professionally or personally? What are you focused on at the moment?
Right now, my focus is to build a consistent team at that higher level. Obviously, I've only ever had a couple of horses that have really been at that 5-star level. So my focus, we sort of did a bit of a re-strategize at the end of last year to really focus on trying to build the horsepower and build a team that is capable of and continuing to be present at those 5-star competitions. So, like I said, finding that horsepower is a challenge, because buying them these days is nearly impossible. You have to be at the right place at the right time to be able to get a good horse for the right price, but then also to know them well enough. And nothing beats having a horse that you've known for such a long time, but we all know that's a long road as well. So that's a constant challenge, but that's the focus for us at the moment, is trying to build that 5-star presence and consistency, as well as slowly developing our younger team. So now we have a little bit more of a home team that are developing the younger riders over here in Europe, a rider, and then some horses are away in a different country also being produced. So yeah, we're trying to just really build that horsepower now, so that we can stay at sort of the higher level, because that also then helps bring the younger horses along, and for the business in the future as well, for the marketing, and to help give those younger horses an opportunity.
Yeah, great. So you're back in Calgary, so you're back for more Spruce Meadows competition. Is that a venue that you particularly love?
Yeah, it's definitely, it became a very special place in my heart, the first trip I made at the end of COVID, actually, when I came for the Masters in 2021. And Milky absolutely loved it here, and we were lucky to have some good performances that trip. So then I was lucky enough to come back again last year for the Masters, and I love the people here. I love the community. I love the feeling of being in Canada. It's just like at home. The people are so laid back, so friendly, so kind, humble, modest, generous, giving. And they're just and just salt of the earth. And that goes for the place itself. I mean, Spruce is built around a family business and a vision that started 50 years ago as just a feedlot in the beginning, and with a vision to see a property provide for the whole country and then international members as well. And it's all been built sort of by the community and still has the same sponsors that it had 50 years ago. And these are things that, places like Arca and Hickstead and Spruce, that they're special because of that. They're not just a one-off show or, something that's just been built last minute. And there's so much deep tradition, and it's a real honor to be a part of that. And they put so much effort into looking after everyone. And yeah, so I've been lucky that I've felt very welcome here, and I really like it. So last year I made the decision that, we wanted to come and do the summer series, especially because it is the 50th year anniversary this year. So it was going to be a special year with lots of special things on around the whole venue as well. So it's been amazing to be part of it this summer because, they've had everything from concerts to extra music during the show, and it's been incredible. And the sport itself has been also, I think it was a great opportunity for my younger horses to learn and see a lot of different equipment, and that's the beauty of Spruce is they're jumping on the grass, but they're also seeing, fences that have been at numerous Olympics, World Championships, all these different events. So they're getting so much exposure. If they can handle, they don't always handle it in the beginning, but if they can handle it, then there's not much else really to expose them to after that. So that was what was great for me to see, is how much they can learn from being here over that 4-week period. And, so now I'm back here. We do Thunderbird for another 2 weeks, 2 3-star shows for the next 2 weeks. And then I go back to Europe for a couple of weeks. And then we come back here for the Masters in September. And then I'll head into the state after that with the horses that are here. Yeah, it's busy, but I'm so grateful and lucky to be able to be doing this.
So if we could go back, if you could go back and give 18-year-old Hilary one piece of advice, what would that be?
I don't know. So many things. To just not get so disheartened and to realize that, you have to just envisage consistency, because even the top riders, everyone, they have bad results here and there or bad days. But if you get so caught up on the bad days and the bad results, you'll never make it. You have to just build on the consistency and realize that, some days you're going to have a couple down, some days it's going to really not go well. But overall, you have to keep going with resilience and not give up, because in the end, if you stick to a system and you keep pushing for what you want to achieve and what you are working towards, and you're willing to put in all of that work, then it will come. I think I would probably wanted to give up a few too many times when I was younger, thinking, oh, I'm just not good enough, or it's not this, but you have to just keep pushing.
So finally, we've got a tradition that the previous guest on the podcast leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who that guest will be. Your question is from Billy Raymond, and he wants to know, how you stay motivated, and also what do you do for fun?
How I stay motivated. Every new horse motivates me, and trying to make any existing horse not better, but just keep on trying to improve what didn't go right the last time, or just every new experience in the ring motivates me. And I just want to try and always find that happy spot when you and the horse are at one and everything just meshes and comes to fruition in the ring. And that's not very often that it all just goes perfectly to plan. And that's motivating, to try and always be pushing to reach that with every different horse and every existing horse. So getting to know them, build up. And what do I do for fun? I love cooking. I love walking. I love spending time with my dogs, my family, and friends. Yeah.
And what would you like to ask our next guest?
What would I want to ask them? What's the most important thing that they hope to achieve from their journey in the sport?
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you've taken the time out of your busy calendar to have a chat with me, and I do hope we can catch up again soon.
Absolutely,
Thank you
Jo.
so much.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Jo.